Good morning, everyone. Welcome here to our workshop 3. It's been a marathon of a week. We're talking today about Blueprint to Save My Marriage. And earlier this week, a lot of you have joined us for the first 2 workshops that we did. We did the communication toolbox, how to open up communication, even if things are really tense or closed off right now. And I know a lot of you rock stars have been posting here in the group about how you've been using those conversation starters and you're starting to really have communication open up to you. So high thrive to that. And high thrive to the winners of our $10,000 coaching giveaway. We will be announcing 2 winners today at the very end of our workshop. So make sure you stay tuned to the end. And then we also have a special gift for you. So make sure you stay to the end because only those that are at the end are going to know what that is. So it's going to be super fun. All right, I'm here with Mark Johnston. How are you doing, Mark?
I'm doing wonderful. How about yourself, Heather?
I'm doing better. My voice is barely hanging in there. So
Yeah, it can be a bit hard, especially if you've been speaking a lot. We've been doing a lot of these presentations. I know Heather's been doing a lot of work here and been working very hard to support everyone. So I get it. It sometimes puts a little bit of a strain on your voice.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Good morning, everyone. Hello. Woohoo. My name would be a perfect pick. Ha, I love it. That's awesome. I hope it is you for sure. It's so very, very valuable. And yesterday we had 2 people also join our coaching. So I want to say high thrive to both of you incredible women. I'm really looking forward to seeing your marriage thrive as well. So why a blueprint? I'm going to give a little bit of an introduction and then I'm going to leave most of the meat and potatoes to Mark because he is our international marriage expert. He is literally one of the most sought after marriage experts in the world. And you're going to have the opportunity right here and right now to be coached and trained by him in this really powerful workshop. So why are we talking about a blueprint at all? A blueprint provides a plan of action. Like we all know what a blueprint is, right? It's a step-by-step process to construct something lasting. At least that's the goal, right? Is that we're doing some work beforehand to make sure that whatever we're building, whatever we're constructing, whatever we're planning is solid. It's strong and has that really strong foundation and will be lasting. I don't know if you've ever been to Europe, and maybe you live in Europe because we truly have an international audience here. But when I was 8 years old, I had the privilege of going to Switzerland, where my grandmother was from, and my great-grandmother lived, and I got to see these incredibly ancient buildings that are still standing, and it's just amazing to see the architecture of these incredible structures. And even going to Mexico and seeing some of the Mayan ruins, and here in America, seeing some of the Native American buildings, that it's just baffling to me that you could build something and centuries later, despite the wind and the elements and history and wars and all these different things, that these could stand. And that is what we want for our relationships, right? We want something that is lasting. We're not looking for a quick fix. I know many of you have told me, and I am right there with you, that when you made your vows, you meant them. You meant it. You wanted to be with this person for life. You were committed to them, and that you still are, and you still want this to be something lasting. So I honor you for that. And that's absolutely where we want to get you. I believe that marriage is sacred. And in my personal beliefs, I believe actually marriage is eternal. I believe it extends even beyond this life. But there are things that we need to do that need to be put in place to make sure that we have a really healthy foundation. And you may have 1 or 2 of these things that Mark's going to teach you today, but you may be missing some, and that's okay. And when you're missing some, that's when the problems start to arise. And so it's really important that we are honest with ourselves and we are willing to look at ourselves and see, what can I do different? How can I create a blueprint here for success? Now, I'm just going to be completely transparent. There are a couple different key, I guess, mindsets or kind of states of mind that people are in when they come to us, and here in the group even. There are those that get into immediate action. And it's like taking a hammer and nails and getting a bunch of boards together, and you're just swinging that hammer like crazy. You're getting into massive action. And I love action takers. And that we just get into like this huge mode of doing, and we start just like going at the thing, like trying to build something fast, trying to repair something quickly, and you get into this massive action. But what happens is that action is not fueled by faith, it's more fueled by fear, and there's no plan that's in place. And so it's more of this fear-based, I'm getting into action, I'm going to try to fix this. Does that sound familiar? Does that make sense? And I'd like you to check in on maybe which one of these you're in yourself, because these are the most common ones that we see. People that get into diving into books or YouTube or podcasts or going to counselors, and you do all these things, but what happens is you didn't actually have the right plan. You didn't have the laid out step-by-step process, like a blueprint, right, to construct something lasting. And so while taking action is better than no action, what we often see is that this leads to, not great results. It leads to really inconsistent results, and it doesn't create a foundation. It's like if I went out and tried to just build a house without creating a plan first, oh my goodness, I don't think I would make it more than a day. I don't think that thing would even stand with like two pillars leaning up against each other. And so that's kind of that mindset that we see of just getting into action without creating the plan. I'm saying, yes, I'm guilty of that fear. I see that now. Okay, really good. And so that is a major trap that we can fall into, is getting into fear and thinking that if we just start doing things, then we'll fix it somehow. And what happens is just we don't build a really strong foundation. Now, contrast this with the other end of the spectrum. Sometimes we see people that are given, like what we have here today, you're given the beautiful blueprint, step by step, here's what to do. And you look at it and you say, that's great. And you do nothing. And for whatever reason, your fear or your skepticism or whatever blocks might be going on prevent you from taking any action at all. So even with the right tools, if you don't implement them, what happens? Are you able to build this beautiful structure? Are you able to build this beautiful relationship? Of course not, right? So what we need to do, and what the goal today is to implement both. We need to get into action, but we need to do it with the right plan. So get the right plan, have the right blueprint, like Mark's going to outline here for us, and then do something about it. It's right here. It's for you. It's your choice. But I encourage you from the bottom of my heart, I was praying for each of you today, that something would resonate with you today and that you would have the courage to take action on creating a really healthy and strong foundation for your relationship. I see a comment here. And again, I always love your comments. This is a dialogue, not a monologue. And so I see a comment here. I'm so afraid of making mistakes. And I get that. Sometimes we're so afraid of doing anything that we end up doing nothing. And that, my friend, is failing by default. Choosing to do nothing is actually choosing to fail. And so that's a really, maybe a harsh wake-up call, but it's completely true. And so what we need to do is learn to move through our fear and move through the things that are blocking us, and know and trust from others that have gone before us that this is going to work. Like I said yesterday in our masterclass on 4 steps to get my spouse back in love with me, for me, it was like taking a step into the dark. And I did not know if there would be ground there. It was like just that utter darkness and not knowing if I was going to fall, right? And I just had to trust in the process and trust into my higher power, into God, that he was showing me what I needed to do, even if I didn't fully understand it, and to trust those that he had led into my path so that I would have the guidance I needed to navigate those challenges. And every time I did that and I would take one step into the darkness, I would discover that there was light there. And the light continued to increase until I was able to be what I feel like is now the full beauty of daylight. And so I understand that if you're in that you're so afraid to make any kind of choice that you end up doing nothing, then trust in those that have gone before you, trust in those that have gone through this process. And I truly believe results don't lie. So what Mark's going to teach you here is the process. And you can see from the members of our group over in our vault page, the results don't lie. It works. So trust it. So with that little bit of a prelude, we're going to go into this with our method is the proven plan. It is a step-by-step process to construct a lasting and healthy marriage. And again, listen to what your intuition is saying. Something will strike at you, right? It might be like that little flash bulb moment. Maybe it's just something in your heart, or maybe it's just something you're like, wow, I didn't realize that. before this moment. I really need to work on that, and that's okay. So you take action to make it happen. Let's let this experience together here today not just be information. Let's let it be transformation. Let's take what we're learning and take action on it so that we can experience the positive results that we want to in our marriage, so we can have our spouse in love with us and have our best friend back in our lives. So this program here that Mark has created, Path program, is designed to help fix serious marriage problems. It's a way to stabilize a relationship even by yourself, and a tool for personal development. So with that, Mark, let's go right into it.
All right. So yes, this is our Path program. This is the result of essentially years of working with people, years studying, years of schooling, all the information that I gathered here to kind of figure out, okay, well, what really can take a situation where people are at each other's throats and fix all of this. So, the goals for Path is I want to make sure that that I created a program that would walk people through step by step what they need to do to fix the situation that they're in. When I would read a lot of things, I would read a lot of theories, and I'd hear a lot of people going to counseling where they talk about problems and everything that happened in the past, and over again, I heard people say, "Well, we talked about the problems, but then we didn't talk about a whole lot how to fix what was going on with those problems." And I'm going to admit, there's, I think, maybe some people out there that are doing some marriage counseling that maybe don't have all the training, or just are a little bit naive. They're taking an approach that they might have with other problems and applying it to couples. It just doesn't really work. So this is my goal here was to have much more of an action-oriented process. And the whole point of Path. I recognize a lot of people, a lot of our audience are at the point where their spouse is considering the decision to leave. And so I want to help get it to the point where we can stabilize this and help people reconsider. So I'm seeing some people, I'm seeing some very familiar names who've already gone through the live course. I'm going to pull back the curtain a bit, and I'm going to just admit part of this is a little bit of what we were teaching in there. Since this is the free group, not everyone has experienced this. But, I just thought this was such a great part of this to explain what needs to happen, like Heather was talking about, the blueprint. So I wanted to go through this, what the different parts of Path mean. So here we have different parts. We have the perspective, adjustment, telling a new story, and hope. If you look there, hey, there's a bit of an acronym going on there. It's a little bit of a stretch, that T there, but we'll make it work. It sounded really nice with the acronym. But yes, starting with perspective. And this is mostly in order. I'm going to point out, most of this is in order, because if you do part one, it makes part two easier. But you're going to be incorporating a lot of this throughout the process. So first off, I start off with perspective. Now, I want to tell you guys, I take influence from a lot of different experts. One of the things that I was just actually talking about this earlier today with some of the people going through the live course, finishing up the previous live course. I was been reading up with, refreshing my memory with John Gottman, and he talks about like the 4 horsemen of divorce, and each, just very quickly, those things are, it's criticism, defensiveness, stonewalling, and contempt. But a lot of those were about not taking the other person's perspective. When we get right down to it. A lot of people focus in on their own pain and whatnot. And the thing is, we don't know where to start with a problem. We don't know. We won't be able to bring down any defenses if we don't have some understanding. That's just it's just the short. It's not a single client that I've worked with knows enough about why their spouse is considering leaving, and it's just this is the big thing. Going back to Gottman, he got really, really accurate at predicting who would stay together and who would eventually divorce, even after a short amount of time. And how he did that is he would observe their conflict. He would observe them talking about some problems. And he could, what I tend to see is a lot of what's really going on doesn't get actually discussed. It was all about an inability to actually process problems. And not a single client has really taken the time necessary to understand the motivations behind leaving. I'm seeing several people commenting on counselors like, yeah, my counselor made it sound like from the beginning that nothing would work. And certainly that does happen. So I'm seeing another comment here. The comments are scrolling. The only problem there is that my wife knows he agrees with her that it isn't worth working on if she doesn't want to. And my reluctance to continue with him made her angry because she thinks I'm grasping at straws. And I'm guessing here that there isn't a lot of perspective, maybe even towards yourself. A lot of what I teach here is about offering these things first and then bringing this into balance. And that includes offering perspective, offering understanding first, and then helping our spouse give that in return. So next part, we have adjustment. And, sure, I'm sure a lot of you have probably tried to make some changes, but if you don't actually start off with an understanding of what some of the root issues are, then your solutions are not going to be targeting the right thing. Here's the thing. If you are going to make changes, you need to work on the right problem. I would get people coming into me and they say, well, I tried things. I tried buying my wife flowers and gifts. I tried doing things like this. And they were perplexed about why these efforts were actually getting a response of anger or frustration. It's probably because it wasn't actually targeting the right thing. So what we're really trying to do is we're trying to be accurate with the changes and also create a foundation that would allow for a healthy relationship should both parties choose to come forward. Sometimes this means some very, very big changes. And I've seen clients who change their careers, who stand up to their families after years of kind of being under their foot. Or I see people willing to move across the country, and it really communicates that, hey, things are really different here. So I do think that a lot of people, when they say I've tried and I've tried and I've tried, they're not making the right efforts here. And so we want to make sure that this is accurate. Now, here's the next part that's, I think, probably the most important. Your marriage has taken time to get where it was. And during that time, your spouse has developed a story about what's happened. They've built this up. And what tends to happen is there's this phenomenon called confirmation bias. They see something like, my spouse doesn't care for me. And then they start looking for evidence of that. And they build up this story. They start saying, okay, my spouse doesn't care for me. See, when they went off to work, they didn't even say goodbye. They didn't even give me a kiss goodbye. They must not care. And then they look the next day and, okay, well, he gave me a kiss goodbye today, but he didn't really mean it. And there's all this bias towards, looking for that the evidence that story is right. And when in reality, it very well is generally something very different. Like, okay, maybe he didn't give you a kiss goodbye because he was stressed. He's in a hurry because he didn't know that was important to you, or whatever. Yeah. So Stephanie, there's different words for this. Stephanie's saying my therapist calls that a negative sentiment override. There's lots of different terms. There's another term I remember, fundamental attribution error, an FAE, where you attribute something negative towards someone else, and you wouldn't really do that to yourself. If someone's doing something negative, it must be because they're a bad person, not because there's a momentary problem. Uh, and the thing is, this is what keeps the two of you apart. You might be doing everything that you can behavior-wise. You might be um, acting nicer. You might be stopping arguments. You might be supporting them more. But this story gets in the way because they're looking for all that evidence. And we absolutely need to get that aside if you're going to make any more progress at that point. The last part here is about hope. And the thing is, we could say, we can say, okay, let's listen to our partner, let's make some changes, let's see what we can do to influence them and help them change their story. But if you yourself are very hurt, if you are full of fear, if you are full of anger yourself, it will 100% affect the success of your marriage. Absolutely. Even in the comments earlier today, when I was running the presentation earlier today about the 4 horsemen of divorce, I've been running through with this group for a little over a month now, and I started talking about some of these things, and so many people are saying, you know what, I'm still having a hard time letting go of fear, still having a hard time letting go of this anger over what they've done, the judgment over what they're doing to me. And that absolutely pushes people away. Your spouse didn't fall in love with you because you're an angry, upset, judgmental, fearful person. Not at all. And as there are problems, this sort of, it bleeds through. And even if you are really trying hard to push that back. Anyways, these are the parts of path, and I probably gave a much more of an explanation that I should have budgeted for our time, but this is really important. This is what like I said, what we've come up with over years of working with people on this issue. And the thing is, with all these parts, there are also certain milestones that we should hit, because like I said, this is an action plan. This is something that we should be taking action on, and not just listening to a conversation like this and saying, oh, that's a good idea. So I want to get over some milestones, some goals here. Now, obviously, if people are getting involved in marriage coaching, we have certain goals. Yeah, like Heather is putting up here, it's not just information, it's transformation. And we want to really, some of the big goals in my mind is to bring balance into the relationship. So if you've been making mistakes, fine, we can change that. But we also need to call our partners, call them out on some of the things that they're doing in a very gentle way. And even further than that, we need to make sure that the relationship feels healthy for both of us. What I would see sometimes is people would overcorrect. They'd say, oh, I made all these mistakes, and they take all the blame on themselves. And that can very easily lead into a situation where it becomes imbalanced in the other direction. And I'm seeing a lot of comments here on the mindset stuff. And here's the third goal and how that relates: helping everyone to feel like their needs are met. That's how we bring balance into this. A lot of that fear, a lot of that anger, that judgment that you're all saying that you have a hard time with letting go of, it's very likely it's because even your own needs are not being met. And you get into these patterns. Your needs aren't being met, so you push on this, and you push with anger or fear, and then your spouse, they react and they push back. So like I said, I think I mentioned this. I think I mentioned it earlier. Well, the whole thing with this, with each of these points of path, the flow of this is full of bountiful, fixing the marriage on your own. It's to offer to address their needs first, to offer the perspective, the change, to change your own story, your own mindset. And then you can absolutely address your needs and bring balance into the second. I'll tell you, if you can do that, you're in a really good place. And this is why we need that mindset work. So I want to go through some of these milestones that we need to hit in order to get this going. So first, it's about gaining understanding. You'll notice Some of these milestones do correspond with our acronym here. So the first one, gaining understanding. Does your spouse feel understood? And I don't want to make this distinction because I'll ask this question and people say, yeah, I understand what the problem is. My spouse is having an affair. They don't like me. That's not the question. You know, I'm not asking, do you understand them? I'm asking, do they feel understood? Because what I see is a lot of times we have some explanations for why our partner might be doing something, and it's probably not how they are describing it themselves. I had one client who said they are acting out of anger towards me because they feel guilty about their affair. And I said, no, that's not how they're doing it. That's not how your husband is describing this himself. If you went to him and you said, you're just feeling guilty, that's why you're so angry towards me, I'm guessing that would just completely shut down that conversation because that husband would not feel understood. And you know, the other part of this is, do you feel like you can feel heard? Do you feel, you know, where we bring balance into this? If you can get this, this is a really good milestone. Stephanie is saying something really important here. I thought I understood him, but he kept telling me I did not understand him, and I get the difference now. Especially if your partner is saying you don't understand me, that very obvious sign this milestone hasn't been hit. So let's get into this a little bit further. There we go. The thing, you know, a lot of times this is about clearing some basic obstacles to communication. We can ensure that the two, you know, I want to make sure if you guys are working through this that you can, the two of you are able to talk about concerns without it escalating into a fight. I mean, Heather, is this an easy skill to master, talking about problems or concerns without it turning into a fight?
No. No, and it has not been easy in my marriage. This has been such a big, hard thing because it's so easy to get defensive and it's so easy to misunderstand each other's intentions and to see through our own perspective before we're even willing to lay down our own perspective. It's like putting down your sword and willing to put yourself in their shoes. That's not something we're taught.
No.
I mean, that's not something our parents usually modeled for us. If like that's so rare, if your parents modeled that for you. We're not taught this in school. We're not taught this in college. It definitely isn't modeled in our TV and our culture and our news, right? We don't glorify people that have incredible communication. We glorify those that don't and go on the Jay Leno show, you know? So, no, this is very important that we learn these skills.
What about when you and Ben are able to really feel open here and safe enough to talk about some of these concerns? Do you feel like that brings the two of you closer together?
Oh, absolutely. There's nothing better than feeling understood.
Yeah, and so even this is, you know, if some of you have been in some of my other trainings, there is one that I talk about in terms of intimacy. And the deepest level of intimacy, I feel, is when you can talk about concerns, you can talk about difficult things, and it brings you closer together. If you both feel understood, that's really hard. It's a level of closeness or intimacy that is hard to reach. You know, and if this is not the case, can you at least identify what's preventing things from feeling safe or open or comfortable? This is a big milestone here. And the whole point here is when we are working on understanding, the goal is to not just to solve problems. Not at all. And I hear this from the women especially. You know, this is the cliche, like my husband, when I try to talk to him, all he does is try to solve things. And I just want someone to listen. And, you know, when things get really bad like this, oddly enough, the same complaint can be heard from the men. You don't understand me. You know, I don't want you just to try to solve this. You don't even get it. This isn't just a gender thing, but you know, I do tend to hear that earlier on with the women a little bit more, and I think women are a little bit more in tune. they understand some of these nuances a little bit better. Sometimes, you know, a lot of times that's you know, men are not raised in that way. So if you're trying to solve problems at this stage, you're probably going to miss the mark. This is where I hear things like, I tried to buy flowers and candy and chocolate and, get my wife a gift, and she got more angry. And it's because those solutions are missing the mark when you don't have that understanding first. So you need to take time to listen, understand, and ask questions and clarify. So on to milestone 2. Have changes been made? I'm seeing several of you say you're guilty of trying to solve things instead of listen. So does each person feel like there's healthy foundations to their interactions? I want you to ask yourself this. This means that the big problems are taken care of. This is people who are a little bit more in tune. I see this happening. They say, okay, I see the big problems. There's affairs, there's addiction, there's anger or temper, and they go about trying to fix this, which is really good. I do think that this is a good step. Where this gets a little bit tripped up is where the spouse then says, I don't trust these changes. And this is where this other step comes in, this other part of the milestone. Have plans been arranged for maintenance? Books are being read, rehab or support meetings attended, professionals being sought out, or even something more. And this is why getting to the root of the problem is so important. If, for instance, I remember with one client, the wife was saying, you don't support me, you don't care about the family. And so he tried to be home more, he tried to do more things around the house. She was still saying that until he changed he understood the problem, that she felt like the work was getting in the way. He's working long hours. He felt he was providing. He changed his career, said, you know what? I need to take a step back from work. I'm going to cut my hours significantly. I'm going to change my position so I can be at home more. And his wife was shocked. It demonstrated a situation change that would maintain some of these changes. Let's go to that. So further, are actions being actually taken? Are kind words increasing? Time being taken to is time given to family and kids or spouses being proactive concerning addressing problems? And even further, are expectations clear and reasonable? And a lot of times what will happen is there are expectations that are not being expressed, which is why we need that understanding. Or the expectations are unreasonable. I've literally heard situations where the husband is expecting the wife to maintain her career and provide an income, but then also take care of the kids and have dinner on the table when he gets home. And things like that, it's a little unreasonable. And so we need to make sure that there's some balance being taken there. So we get into more individual problems, like limitations may be needed and communicate on the relationship for time and whatnot. I don't know if you're seeing this at all, Heather, even within your own relationship, but sometimes my wife, Jen, she feels really overwhelmed with some of the responsibilities that she has, and she feels like there's a lot of expectations from other people on what she could do. And so, Jen and I have to have a lot of conversations about what expectations are and bring those into a reasonable level. Do you see that at all with Ben?
Absolutely. I don't get, a feeling of expectation from him, but it more comes from myself and my background, kind of the expectation that I had from my parents, honestly, and culture about what a wife and a woman needed to do. I've said it before in past trainings. My story was I had to be X, Y, and Z to deserve love. And if I wasn't X, Y, and Z, which was like a good housewife, taking good care of the kids, pleasing to Ben, meeting all of his needs, making him happy, and then keeping myself physically beautiful, then I didn't deserve love. And my true story was that he would leave. And I love what Tony Robbins says, that when we change that expectation for appreciation, we shift everything that we expect the way it should be, and we shift that into gratitude and let go of some of those expectations. That's when we find that true inner peace, as well as healing in a relationship.
I think what you said there is really important. And part of this is about how rigid those expectations are and letting go of some of these things. I absolutely think that rigidity is going to kill a relationship. And you're saying, okay, Tony Robbins is talking about letting go of some of those things, and instead of being rigid, appreciating what is there. So we go on to the next milestone here. Has the narrative been adjusted? This is a huge milestone, because I do feel like this is what gets in the way in a lot of situations. Does each person have a healthy story of what's happened, changes being made, and what's possible? The thing is, there is a difference between narrative and perspective. Let's talk about narrative for a second here. So, or I mean perspective. I can remember my own slides, right? Talk about perspective for a moment. So gaining perspective, it's about hearing a story out, knowing the facts. It's about understanding problems. This is, a lot of times this is where we go with when we're saying, okay, let's get some understanding. Why don't we get the facts under this? I think that understanding needs to go a bit deeper. Absolutely needs to go a little bit deeper. The narrative people tell is different from what is said or heard sometimes. It's the meaning behind the story, the meaning behind the explanation behind the facts, and it's their description of the problems. I can't even remember where I read this, but someone was talking about how the way we describe problems shapes our opinions here. Just like the way we describe our relationship shapes our opinion about the relationship. And this is kind of you really have to look inwardly here, and just take a moment to inventory. How am I describing things? And if your spouse is pulling away, it's really important to understand how they are describing the situation. What is their narrative? So, moving on here, if you're let's get
going into the narrative part here.
We're going to go to the next slide here. Heather and I, we don't both have controls over the slides, so sometimes there's a little bit of a coordination thing here. Anyways, if your spouse is thinking of leaving, 100%, there's a negative narrative going on. Narratives are much deeper level thought and beliefs, like Heather mentioned. What was it that you said that was going on here in your marriage? Remind me.
Yeah, that I had to be X, Y, and Z in order to deserve love. And if I couldn't meet that expectation, then I wasn't good enough and he was going to leave me for someone else. Mm-hmm.
And I bet here, when there were moments where maybe even Ben pulled back even just a little bit, you're thinking to yourself, okay, it's because of these things right here. That's
absolutely. And I say it kind of callously now. I mean, obviously, when I say it, I kind of rattled that off like it wasn't a big deal, but it was like it caused so much heartbreak and so much distance and so much pain. It is unbelievable. And the truth was that it wasn't any of those things. And he stood by me even when I wasn't those things.
And see, here's the thing. It's not even always coming from our spouse. Like for me, I had some really big problems about accepting love and care from other people, accepting even appreciation. For a long time, I looked for criticism from other people, even when it wasn't really there. This is still something that I have to be very conscious of. And so, sometimes even within my own marriage, I would find that I was looking for some of that blame, that judgment, that all those negative things from my wife, even though it wasn't really there. So shifting the narrative is really the ultimate goal in marriage coaching. All these other parts really build a foundation to be able to get you to that point where you can shift it. For me, it took a lot of discussions with my wife. My wife and I talking together, a lot of time really getting in that positive message, those positive messages from each other before it became easier to accept a lot of the love and kindness like I should have been doing. Not to say that things were terrible, but it made my relationship with Jen so much more deep and fulfilling. Shannon, you're asking, is it possible that the narrative is negative about them and not you? And I do hear this sometimes where they say, it's not me, or it's not you, it's me. I'm not good enough for you. You deserve something better. Uh, and it absolutely can be that. Now, do I hear that a lot? Probably not. Not from the spouse who's leaving the marriage, not as much, but I do hear it sometimes. I what will tend to happen is this. Yeah, there will be that negative narrative about yourself. Like for me or Heather, we both gave examples where it was completely coming in about ourselves, and it affected the marriage. Now, the potential here is for that negative narrative really build up, and for us to start seeing some of those negative things that we're expecting from our spouse. So I'm not lovable. I'm looking for all this evidence that my wife is not loving me. Do you see all this evidence? She doesn't love me. She's not. We're not compatible. And so you can see. Oh, it almost shifts a little bit. Where, yeah.
It's fascinating. It's our reticular activating system. It's a part of the brain that goes into overdrive to find things, to give us evidence that our beliefs are true about the world. So we have this belief, I'm not good enough, he's going to leave me. And so then the brain goes into overdrive trying to prove that true. So anything that even looks, smells, feels like, sounds like, touches like, whatever, that in my brain is going to pick up on that and say, see, it's true. See, it's true. See, it's true. And it just goes into crazy overdrive. And so if you're experiencing a lot of those blocks yourself, those limiting beliefs, that's what we have, those clearing techniques to reprogram the brain. And that's exactly why Mark teaches here how to change your spouse's narrative. We don't have 100% control over them, but there are many things that we can do to shift that narrative in them.
Yeah. So if your spouse is thinking of leaving, like I said, 100%, you're fighting against a negative narrative, and you're going to be in a much better position to change that if you have gained perspective, if you've been making some changes based off of that deeper understanding, if you're able to approach each other meeting needs. I am seeing some questions whether this is going to be up later. Yeah, you can always go to our video section. This is going to be recorded into the video section of the Facebook page. So, have you established a better, more healthy story of what's going on? So, this is a big milestone. Are you able to talk with your spouse without feeling resentment? Are you able to hear their concerns and struggles without getting defensive? Are you able to have acceptance of their ability to make choices? And are they able to recognize that changes have been made and see the ability at some point to reconcile, recognize their own contributions to the problem? It would take me hours to just go over things, all the things that we could do just to adjust the narrative. And I know this is a really important part. It's such a complicated step. But if you are able to get to these things, this is probably the biggest milestone, is if you can see a lot of these things happening. So, last milestone here. It's about personal responsibility and mindset. And I do think that this is the milestone that you start and end with. This is, even though it's milestone number 4, you got to start and end with your own personal responsibility, your own mindset here. I'm just looking at some of the comments. Just going off of the narrative again. You're like Amy saying her husband has seen the changes that are being made, but he's looking for evidence that things are going poorly. It's really important here with things like this going on that you're able to maintain a calm attitude, that you're able to be that rock, that you're able to keep that mindset, because it's a hard situation. So just to explain this, maybe not everyone's familiar with the term mindset. Mindset's the way you think, the way you feel, the way you respond to your thoughts and feelings, your general mood, your level of hope. It is a lot. It's everything. And I will tell you, it's the number 1 determining factor in your success or failure. Now I'm looking at this slide. I'm trying to see what it's. Hey, I think. Anyways, I was looking at the slide. What it was saying there. It says it's the number 1 determining factor in your success or failure with your kids. That's not what is meant with your marriage.
Your kids too, sure.
Sure, with the kids, why not?
I love it. Let's do it. Awesome. Me too.
Yeah. So where do we get started with something like this? Because this is where you start, and I want to give you guys some tips on working on the mindset. Um, because here's the thing, we have uh, a big question here. How are you going to meet your own needs while working on the marriage? Your spouse might be out the door. They might not be wanting to be around you. And I see this a lot where all these feelings of loneliness, sadness, desperation sink in. Um, so what do you need to do to keep mentally healthy? I want you to ask all of you this, because this is going to be a very personal question. I mean, Heather, what do you do to stay mentally healthy? I know I have my own, I'll share my own stuff in a moment, but I'm going to hear what you do, Heather.
I just did it. So I run 3 miles and I put on the craziest, loudest music I possibly can so I can't hear my kids. I go through what's called my morning formula. And sometimes I start shouting like a crazy woman. No, not really shouting, but I definitely go into what I feel like is my safe zone. And I have a ritual that I've built in that I go to every single day. Our morning formula is crucial for me to feel centered, as well as my spirituality practices, meditation. It's different for everyone. We all have different personalities. And it's just really important that you find what really fills you up, because you cannot draw water from an empty well. So what fills up your well? What allows you to have water fill up to the top for yourself and then running over so that you can be the support that you need to be to your children, to your spouse, and to your friends. That's a really huge part of life, is learning how to maintain that well so that we can give to others.
Yeah, for me personally, for the longest time, I thought in order to remain calm and steady, to maintain a personal mindset, I felt like I needed a downtime and I needed time away from things. I needed distractions, which, to a certain extent, that's not that bad, not bad. And I still have those things. I'll watch my favorite shows. I'll play video games at night. I'll do whatever. But I also noticed that when stress was ramping up, the distractions weren't enough. And so I really needed the more of those positive things, the things that just not just avoided the stress, but took me to a higher level. So meditation practices and affirmations. Heather mentioned the morning formula, which is something that we got from another coach that I run through myself as well. It's really important. So what do you need to do to keep mentally healthy? And what times are you going to do to set aside to take care of those needs? What I'll tell people, if you don't have a practice of this, I'll say, hey, very bare minimum, 30 to 60 minutes per day for yourself, something that's going to take you to a better place. And each week, 2 to 3 activities that are going to provide support, whether that's talking to a friend, going to support meetings, something taking you to a much higher place than where you're at right now. Getting you to think about what's going on, someone that's going to care about you, support you. And then even 2 to 3 activities per month that are personal interests, something that you are doing for yourself just because you like doing it. Whether this is fun activities with friends, engaging in personal hobbies, getting out for fun with family. Get out and do some dance lessons, go learn an instrument, go practice woodworking, whatever it is that you feel like you need to do. This is, I think, the bare minimum if you are going to really get to a point where where you're going to feel healthy. I'm seeing some suggestions here. Some people are listening to TED Talks. Some people are listening to us, and I'm always glad that we're that positive influence here.
Yeah. So a happy person is attractive. We are attracted to happy people. And what often happens is that we can get sucked into a black hole of our problems and our pain, and we lose our own happiness. And not only do we lose our happiness, but we lose our attractiveness to others. So it's really crucial that we do these things to pattern interrupt, to pull us out, to change that expectation into appreciation and experience some joy in life that's completely independent of anything that's going on, like externally. It's finding that peace and that happiness is only found within, and honoring ourselves.
I think there's a really big question here. Really good. Shannon is asking, her husband already says that she doesn't spend enough time with him. How can I take more time for myself? Good question. I remember reading some parenting books. My wife and I, we my wife loves personal development, so she got really into some parenting books a while back. And I remember one of these was suggesting that you can't really be your best self as a parent if you don't have good boundaries, if you don't take time for yourself. And this is going to be the same thing here. So if your husband needs time with you, absolutely have that discussion. What can we do to make sure that you are feeling fulfilled here, that you're getting enough time with me? And then what can we do to make sure that I have some time for myself so that I can feel like I'm growing and I'm taking care of myself? My guess here is there's a problem with expectations, and those expectations being very vague or not discussed. So my wife and I are at a really good point where I know that she really finds it important to grow. I really love spending time with her, but I know that if she's taking a class in the evening or something, that she's going to come back so much more excited and happy and healthy and be very excited to be with me because I've supported her in that. And this is where where I'd like most of you to all to get with your own level of self-care. You might need to ask for help, you might need to ask for support, and you can explain to them, I'm going to be able to approach this much better if I have that. So here's the good question. The next slide here is asking, who are the supports in your life? Who can help you who can give you some extra time to be able to take care of yourself? Do you have friends? Do you have family? Don't be afraid to ask. If you're going through some hard problems in your marriage, there are going to be people out there willing to support you.
Real quick, Mark, I'm going to answer this. Describe pattern interrupt. That's a term I just kind of threw out there. And you're right, there's really no explanation. So real quick, 90% of what we do is controlled by our subconscious mind. That's just basic psychology. Neuroscience proves it, right? So we think that we're in control because the part that thinks it's in control is the conscious part, and that's the part that we're thinking with. So it's kind of a funny thing. So only 10% is our thinking mind, and the other 90% is our subconscious, and our subconscious just gets into patterns. That's why we typically do the same things. We typically eat the same things. We typically say the same things. We typically watch the same things. We typically go to the same restaurants. It just because we get into such pattern. But if our patterns aren't serving us, if our habits aren't serving us, and like I mentioned, if you're feeling kind of that darkness, that black hole, where you're not doing a lot of things of happiness, then setting aside the time and making some new patterns and some new habits interrupts that entire programming. It wakes you up and it really makes you realize, oh, there's actually a better way I can start doing things. And then you can start to develop some new habits that are going to support you much better.
I like the example, and I want to say that this is from Tony Robbins or the woman he works with, Chloe Madanis. Tony, he talks sometimes about changing your state to really change up your patterns. And I want to say that it was him because I know he's big on this, where he talked about an example of his wife, this person he was working with, or maybe it was Chloe Madonna's person that they were working with. The wife would often make complaints, even in public places. And so the suggestion was given, why don't you take off a piece of clothing as she is, bringing up complaints. And so they were out at dinner and he's like, okay, I'm going to do this. And she started, complaining about things that he was doing. He started taking off his tie and she looked at him funny. She kept on going. He started unbuttoning his shirt and she says, what are you doing? Oh, you're doing something ridiculous. You're really putting me down in public. I'm going to do something ridiculous too. And just that interruption of that pattern that they would get into where she would make complaints and he just kind of back down really made them think about what was going on. And I think we got off on a bit of a tangent there, but
oh, no worries. Yeah.
Yeah, so who are the supports in your life? You should absolutely be asking for help right now. Here's the thing. I want you to not just think about this, say, hey, this is a good idea. I want you to write out a plan, detail some immediate steps. So ask yourself, what are your broader goals with personal care? I asked my wife this the other day, and I got her permission. She doesn't mind me sharing some of these things. She was feeling like she was stuck in her role as a mother and wanted to grow. And so she didn't want to do it. And I asked her, what do you want? What do you want out of life? She said, I want some purpose. I said, great, let's find a way to get some purpose. And she said, I don't know what my purpose is. We ended up examining some things. She's going to go take a class on finding her purpose. So this was good. It led into a good direction. And so we ask, okay, what are those steps that lead up to the broader goals? If she wants to feel like everything, she's the things that she's doing are really meaningful, that she has a lot of great things going on in her life, we need to identify what are some steps to get up there. So ask yourself this. If your goal is to be able to take time for yourself, if you want to make sure that you are in a calm place, what are all the little things that need to happen to get there? So who are you going to go talk to today or tomorrow to get started? What are you going to do to put it in your schedule right now?
I love it. Transformation.
Yeah. So I would tell people, in terms of really getting a good mindset down, absolute must. You should have a practice of meditation, affirmations, journaling, daily mindset work. And I just want to make this clear, because I would run into this even when, a long time ago when I was suggesting this under other contexts, people would say, okay, well, meditation, I do that. I sit there and I empty my mind and I just sit there being quiet. It doesn't do anything for me. I said, no, 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 that's not meditation. That's certainly one form of meditation. Heather, what do you think meditation is? What's good?
Mm-hmm. I think it's quieting down our conscious mind and doing some deep kind of allowing our subconscious, allowing our inner self room to speak. For me, it's about creating a space so I can connect with who I really am and listen to kind of the inspiration that comes. Like you said here, there's these different types of meditation. There's 6-phase meditation for general mindset work. Clearing meditation, I'm a huge proponent of that. All my clients know this. And goal-oriented meditations, and those who are aspiring to specific feelings. So whether that's reducing stress or achieving some kind of result that you're looking for in life, it's steering your mind and it's giving programming to your subconscious to allow it to work with you, harnessing that 90% to work with your 10% so that you can get there.
I remember going to a meditation class, and I know it was connected with some sort of, I can't even remember. This is almost embarrassing. I had this big story, but it was a meditation class. It was connected with some sort of Eastern religion, and I'm Buddhist. It was a Buddhist meditation class. That's right. And so I went through this a couple times, and I thought their explanation was really great. It's a time to consciously choose your thoughts and feelings. It's a time to practice thinking and feeling different. And so people, they would talk about, hey, there's some of these monks that would meditate on peace for months or something like this, that just trying to feel what it felt like to be at peace, to be peace, to embody that emotion. And this is, I think, what a lot of these guided meditations are attempting to do, especially some of these goal-oriented meditations, where you say, this is, we're going to have a meditation to find confidence. It's about being confident and practicing that feeling.
All right, Mark. Well, I'm going to have a zoom through the last little bit here. Just
we haven't managed to go
forever. And I hope that this has been very valuable for everyone here. I know that Mark wanted to share your story. Do you want to go into that for a minute?
No, if we're running low on time. I'll zoom through it in the 30-second thing. You know what? My wife and I haven't always been the best examples of a happy married couple. We've had our low points too. And you know what? Part of what this PATH program is about, this is some of the steps that we took. We took time to understand each other, to really understand what was going on, to make those changes, and we consciously worked with each other to change the narrative. This really led to some big changes. I have to say, even after we've been married almost 14 years now, I couldn't be happier with my wife, Jen. And so this is part of how we got to this point and built this program, is I really wanted to pick apart, okay, what makes marriages work, and how do we apply these principles? How do we actually put it together in a program? I would go deeper, but we're running out of time. If anyone wants to ask me personally at some point, that's really open, but let's get into these other things.
Yeah, I also share my story about how my marriage almost ended. And so if you're really struggling with a lot of those blocks yourself, those limiting beliefs, I encourage you to go check that out. All right, so we're going to announce our winner of our next winner. So we're doing two winners today. The first will be for our 10-week group coaching program for our Path group coaching. And the second will be our grand finale winner of our Path one-on-one coaching program. This is our premium coaching program where you're able to be coached directly by our coaches here at High Thrive Coaching and have access to everything that you need to save your marriage. So, drum roll. All right, so we're going to announce this person live. If you're there, then let us know in the chat. We are going to keep going until we find someone live. That's just what we're doing today. So, Michael oh my goodness, Kashat. I'm going to put your name into the comments here because I do not know how to pronounce your last name. Okay. So Michael, if you are here, let us know. You are the winner for our group coaching. Is he on? Hopefully. All right, I'm going to put this here. Our first winner. If that is you, let us know. If not, we're going to keep going until we find someone live. All right, so now that's for our group coaching, and I'm going to announce our one-on-one coaching winner. Going over to my random name picker. And my internet's really slow. Sorry, everyone. Oh my goodness.
Keeping everyone in suspense here.
Brian Osborne. Brian Osborne.
Me. What? Who is it?
Is Brian Osborne. Brian, are you on?
Congratulations. I would love to see some comments from either we have Michael Kashat and Brian Osborne.
Brian Osborne. All right, so we're going to wrap up here talking about what you've just won and also give you guys, everyone who didn't win, a special gift today. So why is one-on-one coaching so crucial? Let's go. Okay, we already did the winner. Why is it so crucial? Just like going back to that blueprint, it's not enough to get into action, right? We can't just start swinging the hammer around madly and pretend like we're accomplishing anything, especially if we're just doing it out of sheer panic, trying to fix things, right? What we need is the plan of action. But you can't just have the plan of action alone, right? You also need the accountability and the coaching and the direction to make sure that you take that plan and put it into practice so that you can feel confident in yourself, how to communicate with your spouse and solve problems in the right order. So this path method that Mark just really went in super deep with you guys today is different than therapy or any other self-help because it combines those proven step-by-step phases. Like he talked about those milestones and you checked in with yourself. If you haven't hit those milestones yet, then you know there's work to be done. And that's okay. That's exactly why we're there, to give you the accountability and help you get those milestones. And it is beautiful and we celebrate it. Like Oprah, everyone's a winner. All right. And so what happens is that you're coached personally by international marriage experts, Mark Johnston, myself, and our coaches here at High Thrive Coaching with a plan, accountability, actionable feedback. And a lot of you mentioned that you're stuck in pain, you're stuck in anger, you're stuck in resentment. And we show you exactly how to move through all of those emotions and get to a clear, calm, centered place so that you're able to tap into that inner power that's within you and be able to discover the truth of who you are, not the stories that you've been telling yourself and not the results that keep showing up in your life because of those stories. We make true, radical transformation. It's a transformational program and it's really intense. If that doesn't sound like you, then it's not for you, and that's okay. So again, we get that action plan on how to make progress with your unique relationship challenges. And then you get one-on-one feedback calls, one-on-one coaching calls, and we do group coaching calls. I mentioned this before in the last 2 workshops, but these are incredibly powerful learning and transformational experiences where you meet together with other people just like you that are going through, you have the support. Some of you talked about how lonely you are and that you don't feel like anyone really understands you, or you don't feel like you have anyone you can really talk to. The members of this group are phenomenal. And I know many of you are on here and I just so appreciate you because this community is so supportive and are truly there for each other. And we all learn and grow and elevate together. So as a special gift for everyone, first of all, did we see? I will be Brian Osborne. Did we see? Did they comment?
I haven't seen either one, but I'm not sure how the comments work because I see some comments cycle through I just have I'm just observing it through Facebook.
Yeah. Okay. Julia Dillon. We'll go with you for the
group.
Julia Dillon and Steve Newton. Julia Dillon for the group and Steve Newton. Are you on? We may have to be here. I don't know. It's kind of hard to do it live. Julia Dillon, right? Yep. Is she on? For the group coaching, Steve Newton. Okay.
We're trying to give away money. Please let us give them to you.
Just pick Stephanie and me. Well, I can hang out here all day and laugh with you guys. Oh my goodness. All right, how about we do this? Mark, why don't you, man, see, I can't see everyone that's live. Shannon Guilford. All right, so we have 53 live viewers here. Can you, let's see. I'm trying to figure out how to do this real quick. Because I've got my random name picker here. Maybe I can hop over on this side and grab a winner real quick. We should have some serious, like, epic music going on right now, I think.
Like soundtrack from Lord of the Rings or...
Yeah, something to keep us all entertained while I figure this out. I definitely want to get one of you live viewers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly copy all of these names and put them into the random name picker. So hang on, hang with us. All right. Oh my goodness, it's not even loading. You guys are so
sure. I'm trying to figure out how this, how even the comments work, because I can just see all sorts of comments scrolling through here. But yeah, I haven't seen any of the names so far.
All right, I just copied all 53 names. Hold on just a second. Appreciate your patience. I never know how this is like really gonna work, you know. Okay, come on. We can do this.
Some comments like, ah!
All right, suspense. Okay, I am entering all 53 names into our random name picker. And we have, oh my goodness, Vanessa, you just said it. Vanessa Davis. Vanessa Davis, group coaching. You are the winner for our group coaching. And we're going to do another one. Christina Moore, you won our one-on-one coaching. There we go. Did we get it for real this time? Are you both on?
Vanessa and what was it?
Oh my goodness, I just picked it. Vanessa and, okay, I just said it. Christina Moore.
Vanessa and Christina. Oh, there we go. I did see Christina.
Awesome. Congratulations. You guys are on. So that worked out great. I'll have to come up with the better
system.
And
there's Vanessa.
All right. Congratulations to Vanessa and Christina. All right. Now, for everyone who didn't win, I know that can feel like a big bummer. However, I want you to know that there is still opportunity for you. There are solutions, and that life rewards those that take action. Like we said today, this is all about having the right plan and taking action on it. And so as a special bonus gift to everyone who has joined us tonight, we would like to give you each a discount of 10% on our coaching program. And we're going to give you a special word to give your enrollment rep when you talk to them. When you have a free breakthrough call, you're just going to simply say blueprint. That's going to be your coupon code, if you want to call it that. You just let your enrollment rep, when you talk to them over here at highthrivecoaching.com/apply, and say blueprint, so that you can get 10% off of your coaching when you enroll with us. To do that, we just had 2 people enroll yesterday. Again, congratulations to those incredible women who joined, and as well as the 2 incredible women today who just got the giveaway. But I just want you all to know that there are solutions and that it is possible, even if it seems really hard. At the end of the day, we all have to live with the decisions that we make. And so just sink in deep to that today, of who I really want to be. If I only had a year left, if I only had a month left, like I was told I only had a year left, where would I want to be a year from now? And how would I want to look back on my time today and think about the decisions that I made and have that peace of mind that I made the very best decisions. I gave it my all for my family. They mean everything to me. I'm in love with my spouse, even if things are really hard right now. And I want to be with them, and it's worth it to be able to fight for my relationship and become the best version of myself so that I can live with absolute peace of mind that I did everything I could and I became who I'm meant to be. So let that be your mantra today and always. So appreciate you all. And again, the special keyword is blueprint. I'm literally not selling that to anyone else. It's not going out in the emails. Only those who join this workshop and hear this word are going to be able to get that incredible opportunity. So thank you, Mark, so much. Thank you for teaching us. Thank you for enlightening us. I know I even had some incredible aha moments, as well as many people here today. So take a moment to take action on those things that you were inspired to do today. And don't just allow this to be information, allow it to be truly transformation. So thank you so much, Mark, and we'll talk to you all soon.
Thank you, everyone.